Hello, everybody. Looks like we have a couple more seconds here before it actually hits 1 o'clock, but I'm actually going to give everybody a couple more minutes to get in here. I know we had a lot more people that signed up to join the webinar than we have in the lobby right now. And just to go over a couple of the things that we have that's a little bit different from our last webinar series. It's actually, we're using Zoom as a webinar platform now. So you'll notice we have a Q&A section at the bottom. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to go ahead and add your questions in there. I also have Katie with me today, and Katie will be answering the questions as I am presenting throughout the middle of the presentation. And then once we switch over, Katie's going to be presenting the mobile app for us. And when she takes over on presenting the mobile app, I will be answering the Q&A section for us. So feel free, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, to use that. I'm going to go ahead and throw myself back on mute for a couple more minutes, wait until we get a few more people in here, and then we will get started. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and get started now. Before we jump into the actual training, I do want to share that this is being recorded, and in order to view the recording after we present everything here, you can go to the Lightning Bolt dashboard page, and then if you go in the top right corner, you see Help Support. If you click on that link, it's going to open up this page here for you, and we have a full folder full of these webinar recordings. So if you click in here, you'll see all of our recordings from last time. We have a little demonstration of how you can actually raise your hand in Zoom if you have a question that you don't want to ask in the Q&A section. And we have all of our old webinars in here as well. We will be adding all of the webinars from this series. We'll be adding them into this page as well. So feel free to go to that page, webinar recording section, and view any of the videos if you need help with any of the other topics that we'll cover. But as far as getting started today, we're going to take you from the very, very beginning. I'm going to go to my email here, and we'll see that we have a Welcome to Lightning Bolt email. So this is the first email that you will be receiving from the Lightning Bolt system. This means your admin has gone in and actually set up an account for you. And through this email, you'll be able to log in. You'll see that our username is J Appleseed. And then in order to activate our account, we need to go in and set our password. So we'll just click this link here. It's going to ask us to set up a password. I'm just going to use a standard password for myself here. And I'm going to click submit. It's going to give me a window that says you have now successfully reset your password. Please log into the system. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in my information that I just added. and it'll take us directly into what we call Viewer. So this is a viewing system, basically a scheduling interface that'll show you all of the shifts that are being worked on a given day. We'll see that by default, it's going to take us to today's date, well, the month where today's date lands. So it brings us to February 2019. And it also takes us to what we call a me view. So we only are able to see our shifts right now. Before I get into the details of Viewer, I'm going to take you back to that dashboard page that we saw a little bit earlier and go through some of the features that we can do on that dashboard page. And then I'll come back here to show us how we can play around with the schedule. So in order to get to the normal dashboard page from this page, from the Viewer page, we're going to hover over the LB icon in the top left corner, and we're going to click on Dashboard. This is going to take us to our newer dashboard platform. In order to actually go in and set up a calendar subscription or anything like that, we're going to actually want to go back to our legacy. So in the bottom right corner of this page, you'll see Link to Legacy. If we just click here, this will take us back to our normal dashboard page that we're used to seeing. Now, once we're in here, there's a couple different things I want to go over. So we have a mobile calendar that we can go ahead and in any of our shifts that we are scheduled for, we can use these shifts and send a .ical or .ics link to our email address, and we can actually import our calendar into other calendar services like Outlook, iCal, or Gmail, for instance. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna put in my email address, and I'm just gonna put in some random identifiers for us. We don't, you can just ignore the little plus and the numbers there. It's just gonna tell the system basically that this is a unique email that I haven't used before. We are gonna have to specify our time zone. I'm currently in Central Time, so I'm gonna be using that. And then we can toggle which assignments we actually like to include into our calendar subscription. So if we don't want to see everything we're scheduled for, we can go to this selected assignments, click edit, and we can toggle all of them off, toggle all of them on, or we can pick and choose. We only want to see when we're on call or vacation, for instance. We would just uncheck everything else, and we'd say continue. Alternatively, if you don't want to just go in here and select everything, we do have the option to just say all assignments as well. Once we have all of our options selected here, if we just click submit, this is going to send us a link to our email, and I'll go ahead and pull that up in just a second to show you what that's going to look like. It's going to come into our email box as a calendar subscription notice, and it's going to be from Lightning Bolt Scheduler. If we click on this email, it's going to go through and it's going to give us all of the different ICS links for each different calendar system that we use. So if we wanted to input it into our iPhone or iPad, we would use this link and follow the instructions below. So each different calendar has a different set of instructions that we need to follow in order to make sure that those calendars are showing accurately for us. So once you put that in, let's say if we wanted to put it into Google Calendar, we could just copy this link, add it into our Google Calendar, and then this will automatically update. Every time the Google Calendar, every time Google syncs its calendars, we will get that refreshed information from Lightning Bolt as well. So it doesn't necessarily update in real time. It updates as often as Google is able to refresh their own calendars. Jumping back to our dashboard page here, there is one more thing I want to show you from this page. Outside of the help support section, which we already covered, we do have a name in the top right corner. So this should be your name when you're under your account. And if we click here, we'll be able to go to this account settings page. And from account settings, we can come in here and we can change our password if we need to update that information. We can change our recovery email address. So perhaps if we were set up with a email address from the hospital that you're working at and you'd rather have it sent to a personal recovery email address, you can edit that here. You can also update your notification email address. So if your permissions are set up in such a way where you are supposed to get notifications for every change or every request that's been made in the system that refers to you, you would need to go in and set up a notification email address to make sure we know the correct address to send those notifications to. And finally, our default web page. So when we actually go in and access our schedule, log in, which page do we want to be brought to immediately? So in our case here, we were brought immediately to Viewer, and that's why we would be able to see our schedule right away. If we wanted to change this, we just click edit, And we could say, we want to go to the dashboard instead. So we want to be brought to this dashboard page rather than going directly into viewer. I'm going to leave it on viewer for now, but if we did want to change that, we would just switch it and click submit. I'm just going to go back to my account instead. And then I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Okay, so once we are on this page here, we're actually going to start jumping into viewer now. So to do that, we have two different options here. We can click on this button, viewer, or we can go to view schedule/requests. Both of them are going to take us to the exact same page, and it's going to be that default page that we jumped into previously. Now we'll see, we're back on the page where we can see all of our shifts that are scheduled for a particular day. Now let's say we want to interact with this in some way, and we want to add in a shift or maybe request a future day off. What we're going to do is use this orange pencil tool down here at the bottom. And if we click on that pencil tool, we'll have our options pop up and it'll say fill or request. Now, these may not pop up depending on your permissions. If your admins are preventing you from making fills or making requests for future schedule dates, these will be grayed out just like these other boxes here. But in most circumstances, our default permissions are to allow end users to make fills and requests that go to a pending state. So admins would have to go in and then approve those requests or fills. One distinction I do want to make between the two is that fills can only be added into existing schedules. So that's going to be any schedules that are published for you. And you can tell a schedule is published when you can actually see data within that schedule. So we know for February, we know that this is a published schedule since we were able to see the shifts that we are working throughout this month. If we go into the future, we'll see that March is not published for us because everything is completely blank for us. I'm going to go back to February and I'm going to show us how a fill works really quickly. So let's say on 2/26, I want to be on vacation. It's too late for me to actually submit a request because this is already a published schedule. So what I can do is use this fill tool. And it's going to ask me for the date, the template, the person, and the assignment. Two of them we don't have to change. So if we click on date, we will go ahead and say 26th. We want to be on vacation today. Our template, we won't have to change because it's referring directly to this calendar that we're on currently. Our personnel, we don't have to change as well. As an admin, we typically have permission to change everybody, but as a provider, we'll typically only have access to see ourselves listed here. So we won't be able to make vacation requests or any other fills or anything like that for other providers. We'll only be able to modify ourselves. And then for our assignment, we'll just go ahead and grab vacation. Now, something else that we can do within the fill tool is that we can select multiple dates at once. So if we want to request vacation for today and tomorrow, we can grab both of those dates and we'll see in our preview that that'll update with the 26th and the 27th. We can also add a note if we want to leave a note for our admin saying maybe we'll be out of town, for instance. And that's why we want to have these days taken off vacation. If we go ahead and click submit, we're going to see that these are going to go in as pending vacation fills, and that's going to show up as a plus vacation. We know that these are not set in stone yet because they still do have the plus sign next to them. And if I minimize this window here, we'll see if I hover over the shift, it's going to show the note at the top there. It'll say out of town. Then it also says pending. So nothing is going to be set in stone on the schedule until this is actually a granted fill, where your admin will come in. And once that is granted, it's going to look like any of these other shifts where there's no plus sign next to them. The other distinction is going to be for the for the request tool. And the request tool is the exact opposite. So instead of updating a schedule that is published, we're going to be able to submit requests for a future scheduled date. So if I grab request and I go to our date here, we'll see that the first date we're able to select is going to be March 1st because that is the first date that is not considered published on our schedule. If I try to go back and try to request something for February, the system will completely block me. It will not let me go back to February because that schedule is already published. So let's say we have a vacation coming up and we want to be off the month of this week in March, so the 11th through the 15th. We can go in and select all of those dates. Here we'll see that our name is actually grayed out. And then for the assignment, we'll take vacation. Now it's going to show us 5 different requests going in here. And we'll also be able to leave a note as a request as well. Now keep in mind, we don't only have to go in and submit requests for vacation. You'll see that other assignments do pop up. So if there's a particular week that we want call, perhaps knowing that we get post call the next week or something like that, we can also go in and request our call assignments. So basically, instead of saying we want to be on vacation the 11th through the 15th, we'll say we want to be on call this particular week. And then we can just go ahead and click submit there as well. And once we do that, we'll see that we have gone in and we actually have those call requests submitted here for us in March. So we are able to see a little bit into the future. We don't have a published schedule here yet, and admins can go through and deny these requests if necessary. But for now, once we submitted these are currently showing up as they are granted requests. So once we generate the schedule, these call shifts will be automatically placed in there for us. So we're basically guaranteed to get them unless we get a notification that the admin has changed these. Furthermore, if we use this little person tool here at the top, we are able to see requests and swaps that have been submitted throughout the month. So we'll see we have vacation requested for the 26th and 27th. That's something that we put in. We'll also see there's a swap opportunity that's been announced for Abraham Lincoln. He's trying to get off of the ward shift on the 28th. If we go over to March, we'll see that we also have our vacation requests here as well. So it's another little dashboard where we can see all of the status of and all of our requests that have been submitted. So anything in blue here, that's going to show up as pending. And then we have the green thumbs up showing that those are approved. Okay, I'm going to go back to February and show you another example. But in order to do that, I'm actually going to have to switch our views. So right now we're on the Me view. If we wanted to switch this to a view where we could see all of our providers, we could just simply click on the name of the view, and it's going to open up our different view windows. From here, I'll just go in and let's say we want to go standard by assignment. Basically what standard by assignment means is it's going to show up as a view with all of our assignments on the left-hand side and all of our providers filling those assignments in. If this is a little bit too chaotic for us and we want to narrow this down, we can always click on the name of the view again. And we have a filter tab here on the right-hand side. And we can say, we want to only pay attention. So I just clicked on none to get rid of everything for us. And let's say we only want to look at call and the neuro shift, for instance. If I click on those 2 shifts, the schedule will filter down to only those 2, and we're able to see who is on those 2 shifts throughout the month. We also have, if we right click on any shift while in viewer, we do have the ability to highlight a specific provider. And so if I do that, it'll highlight all of the shifts that we're on throughout this month. If we right click again, we can reset that highlighter as well. Alternatively, we have a standard by personnel view that's set up. And if we click on that, it's going to look a little bit differently for us. We'll see all of our providers down the left-hand side, and all of the shifts will be filling in the actual cells of the schedule. So it really depends on which orientation you like, whether you like the assignments on the left or the personnel on the left. Either way, it can be set up. You would just have to ask your admin to set up a view by personnel, meaning personnel on the left-hand side, or by assignment, meaning the assignments on the left-hand side. But now that we actually have schedule data to work with here, I'm going to scroll down to the weeks, or I'm going to scroll down right here because I'm Johnny Appleseed, and we are on call on 2/6. So let's say we wanted to trade this shift away. If we wanted to change the schedule anyway here, we'll just click on the orange pencil tool. I can click on the call shift, and these 3 options become available. So we can either modify. If we click modify, it's just not allow us to add in a note for this particular shift. We can try to remove ourselves off of this shift, and it's just going to it's going to send a notification to the administrator that we don't want to be on call for this day. Or better yet, we can use a replace. So with the replace, we have 2 different tools that we can use. So we can switch the person that's on call. So if we click on my name here, we'll be able to switch this to any other person that's eligible to work the call shift. So let's try to switch with Clara Barton, for instance. It's going to show up as our preview is going to show Johnny Appleseed wants to give this shift up to Clara Barton. Alternatively, we can switch the shift that we are on for the day. So let's say we want to still work, but we don't want to be on call. Maybe we want to go to a wards shift, for instance, and that's something that we could put in and send to our administrator as well. To submit any of these, we just click the submit tool down here at the bottom. There is one other switch that I do want to show you, and that's going to be the exchange tool. So the exchange tool only pops up when we have exactly 2 providers selected. So right now we have ourselves, Johnny Appleseed, and we also have Marie Curie selected. So that is going to allow us to use the exchange tool. So if we click exchange, it's just going to say this is a direct swap. So basically we want Marie Curie to take over the call shift today, and we want Johnny Appleseed to take on the neuro shift. Now, one thing that may happen here is when we click submit. What may happen is if Johnny Appleseed is not eligible to work the neuro shift, we would get an error from the system saying, hey, you can't work this shift, therefore you can't make an exchange for this shift. But as we see here, this did go through. So now it goes in as 4 separate pending changes. So for Johnny Appleseed, we want to be removed off call and added onto the neuro shift. And for Marie Curie, we want to be taken off the neuro and be added to the call on Wednesday the 2nd here. Now, as Johnny Appleseed, I can go back through here, select the shift and say, never mind, I don't want this to go through anymore. I can just go in and delete that. And then it's going to reset the schedule back to how it was. Okay. When we go forward into the requests, some admins allow you to go in and actually modify requests for yourselves. You will see in this case for our default settings, we do not have the ability to click on these requests. We do have our original requests on March 11th through March 15th that we can go in and delete. So we can say, I don't want to work these requests anymore. I can go in and take those away. But you'll see that when I try to click on Thomas Jefferson's, it's not going to allow me. It's not going to allow me because I'm not supposed to be messing with any of my other providers' vacation shifter. Okay. In order to navigate month to month, I was doing this pretty quickly earlier and didn't really explain what was going on. So we either click on these little arrow keys, and that's going to forward us 1 month at a time, or backward 1 month at a time. Alternatively, if we click on the month itself, it'll allow us to jump multiple months at once. So let's say we want to go back to December 2018, for instance. We can do that just like that, and that'll take us back to the December schedule. One final thing I do want to cover, and let me go back to February to do this. I'm in 2018, that's why, I apologize. February 2019. Let me go down to myself again, and let's say I have this call shift that I want to give up, but I don't necessarily have somebody I want to swap with. What we can do is if we have our swap opportunities feature turned on, and this is something you'd have to clarify with your admin to see if you do have this turned on, we can go ahead and grab the call shift that day. We can say replace, and for personnel, we can select more than one person. So instead of just saying we want to switch with Clara Barton, we can say we want to switch with anybody that's selected here that is willing to take this shift. So it's going to say any of 7 people. I click submit here. That is going to send out an email to all 7 of those people asking them if they would like to take that shift. And so we'll see if we click on the shift, we have 7 pending providers that are able to switch. The first person that accepts it will go in and it'll register to the system and say, okay, we want this swap to go through. And then your admin would have to come through at that point and say, okay, Johnny Appleseed wants to be off. We have Abraham Lincoln saying, yes, I will switch for that shift on that day. And they can go in and actually approve that. So just a different way of actually submitting requests. Or I'm sorry, that'd be a swap in that case. The last thing I do want to cover is our reports. In order to get there from our viewer page, again, we'll just hover over this LV light icon on the top, and we'll say we want to go to the reports section. So this is going to bring up, as the end user, we're only able to view reports that are saved to everybody. So any report that is already made by an admin and saved. So for instance, if you wanted to see a total of your vacation days, that's something that you would have to set up yourself. I don't know if we have access to any of these. Let's go ahead and give them a try. Okay, perfect. So for our vacations, for instance, we have vacation days remaining, and we have all of these providers listed here. It looks like no one has taken a vacation day out of this group. So it looks like we have 10 vacation days remaining for everyone. Other reports that we can take a look at. So this one doesn't look like we have any data there. Daily calls, I wonder if we have anything set up there either. Okay, perfect. So this is just showing, this looks perfectly equalized for us. It's showing out of each day how many shifts are covered between each call shift. So another report that we can just go through and access as well. If we wanted to download any of these reports, we do have a little cloud over here with the little down arrow. If we click on that, that'll export this report into a CVS file that we can open up in Excel. And then from Excel, you can obviously run whatever functions you need to. But that is going to be it in terms of all of the viewer functionalities. If there are any questions ongoing, please feel free to use that question and answer section. But at this point, I am going to go ahead and pass it over to Katie, and she will take us through the mobile app. So let me make you host. Okay, you should be all set, Katie.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie. Let me just share my screen with you, but we're going to be going through how to use our mobile app, which is a really great resource. Lightning Bolt has both iOS and Android mobile apps for free download. You only need your existing Lightning Bolt account to log in. The app is advantageous to use over the calendar subscriptions that Alex showed you how to subscribe to, because it has instantaneous updates, because it's connected directly to our databases. Just a couple things to note. Our mobile app is in list view. So there's no kind of full calendar view on the mobile app. It's only in kind of a scrollable list format, which we'll see shortly. And you can do all the same functions. So you can create requests, fills, replacements, opportunities, and edit notes right from the application. All right, so to begin our demo, I'm just going to log in as a provider. So Thomas Jefferson is our provider. So you log in with the same credentials that you use to log into the web application. And when you log in for the first time, you'll be directed to the On Today view that you see here. As you can see, it's kind of in a scrollable list, so you would have access to this default Who's Scheduled On Today. You see the time at the top, 11:28 a.m. And the way that you navigate through the mobile app is you can swipe day to day. So if I swipe right, I'll be taken to Wednesday. I can swipe backwards multiple days at a time. You can also use these arrow keys at the top, or you can use the date selector by selecting Wednesday. And then you could hop to months or hop to specific days. Another thing to note is that you can also change your template. So if you have kind of a call schedule, I can switch to just our call schedule, or our full schedule, which is the general, the monthly template. Additionally, in the top right-hand corner, we have our little personnel icon with the information. Recently, we distributed a physician burnout survey. That's the wellness survey you see here. It's just a quick one-question survey about physician burnout. So if you download the mobile app, please be sure to fill out that survey. And then above, we see the settings icon. So if we want to set our default view to a different view, which I'll go through in a second, we would click there, and you would select the view that you want to be your default. And then additionally, you can select your template as well. So going back, we can view the details of an assignment by clicking on any of the slots we see here. So I'm logged in as Thomas Jefferson, and if I just wanted to view any slot, I could view perhaps the slot I'm working today, which is surgery. So if I click on the slot, I see the time that I'm working. You do have options on the mobile app to communicate via phone call, message, or email, or paging if you are connected to a secure messaging service. You also have the options to edit this event right from the app. So if we click edit, we can modify the details, for example. So if we click modify details, we could add a note, for example. We could say, leaving early, and, George Washington is covering. That would be an example of how we could submit a note right from the app. There's also other options that I'll go through in a second. This is also where you would submit those replacements and create swap opportunities as well if you can no longer work the shift. So if I close out of this, the next thing I wanted to just show is how you can view different views on the mobile app. So we're on today, but in the top left-hand corner, if we click on today, it'll drop down and we'll have our different views. So on today has everyone scheduled, but my monthly and my weekly show only your shifts that are scheduled for the week or the month. So we can see that for the rest of February, we only are scheduled on these 3 remaining shifts. If we would navigate, if you scroll up or down, you could see all of the shifts. And similarly, the weekly schedule shows per week with the ability to navigate swiping like that, or using the arrow keys as well at the top. So if we go back to our on today, I'll walk you through those different functions of replacing and filling. So what we'll go over first is filling on a live schedule. So, February is a published schedule, and let's say, for example, we have a meeting today, Tuesday, February 26th. We use this blue add button in the bottom, and fill-in requests are combined on the mobile app. So it really just depends on if you're submitting it on a published schedule, which would be February, or a future schedule, which would be March. So if we wanted to say on today, February 6th, I want to fill myself in on a meeting, I would select meeting and hit review. You can add a note or change the default time. And when I hit submit, it'll fill myself on meeting. And you can see that add icon right there as well. And it is going to be a pending fill for approval from the administrator. You always have the ability to delete any of those requests as well. Moving on, if we want to create a replacement, so let's say today I want to replace myself on surgery, and I want to work rounder where Rosa Parks is working. Similar to what Alex showed about an exchange, the way that you do it on the mobile app is 2 different steps. So if I wanted to exchange with Rosa Parks on the mobile app, first if I click her shift and I hit edit and I hit replace, when I hit review and I hit submit, it'll give me a warning. And when I hit the warning, it'll say surgery is incompatible with rounder. And that's because Thomas Jefferson is already scheduled on surgery and he can't work both at the same time. So you can actually go ahead and force submit that. And what happens afterwards is you get that kind of pending change that Rosa Parks is going to switch with Thomas Jefferson. And then additionally, you have to click on your slot of surgery and do the same thing. Say replace personnel, and you can select Rosa Parks from the option and then hit review and submit. And that would be the same thing as doing an exchange. So once accept replacement, all the changes through, and you can also accept a replacement. So if we navigate to, let's see, I think it's, you can also replace yourself on an OpenShift, so we'll kind of demo that. You see that there's an OpenShift. Let me go to Thursday. There's an OpenShift for post call. If I click open, and this would be the case if you kind of have these OpenShifts where you can fill yourself in on them, we would click the OpenShift, hit edit, click replace, select yourself, hit review, and hit submit. And pending administrator approval, you'll be filled in on that OpenShift. We can also see down here that Abraham Lincoln submitted a swappertunity. So Alex also went over how those appear on the web application. They appear with that kind of Wi-Fi signal as well on the mobile app. And if I wanted to accept Abraham Lincoln's ward swappertunity, I could click on it, click edit, and accept or decline the swappertunity. So if I hit accept and submit, again, you'll get that warning because Thomas Jefferson is scheduled on something else, and maybe it's possible to work together. So if I force submit, I can take over that shift for Abraham Lincoln. Additionally, how to create a swappertunity on the mobile app. If I just go to that same shift and I hit, I'm now working wards. If I hit it, I can no longer work it. I want to find anyone to take it. I can click edit, replace personnel, and I can select all, or I can select specific people to send the swappertunity to. So if I click all and hit review and submit, it'll send that out as a swappertunity. And you can view the swappertunity in the top right corner, see who's accepted, declined, or still pending approval. You can also delete that swap as well by clicking edit and cancel. The last thing is how to make a request on the mobile app. This you might be doing quite frequently, other than just viewing the schedule. It's the same function as fill. So if in the bottom right-hand corner, you click the add button, and we want to submit a vacation request for March. I had previously submitted a vacation request for March 4th, 5th, and 6th. But let's say I need to also submit for the rest of the week, so the 7th, 8th, and 9th. I can click those dates. You can also click kind of dates in future months on the same action. And if I click next, I can select that assignment. So we're going to select vacation. If you have the ability to request other assignments, you can do that as well. And hit review. You can add a note. And submit. And now that request is going for administrator approval. So depending on your administrator's rules for requests, when you navigate to view your requests for the month of March. So if we navigate, I'll just go to my weekly view and then navigate to the following week. You can see that those requests are green, which means they were automatically granted. If they're blue, that means they're pending, and you can always delete those vacation requests if you no longer need them. The last thing is just to show you again, like how to navigate between the different views. They're always in list form, so to kind of view your schedule for the future, I definitely recommend these monthly or weekly views. And again, on today, we do have an additional new feature of the mobile app where you can search for a specific assignment or specific people. So that would be that search icon in the bottom. And if you wanted to search for your name, for example, maybe your schedule has many assignments and many providers. If I search for Jefferson, it'll bring up where Jefferson is scheduled on today. Additionally, it can also bring up what assignment if you're searching for a specific assignment in particular, and you can select a view as well. So we do have these search features, which is a new function of the mobile app, and be sure to use them if you need them. So that about wraps up how to use the mobile app. It's pretty simple for easy viewing, and if you need to make those changes on the go, such as fills and adds and removals and replacements and requests. So that's it. And I'll also take any questions regarding the mobile app as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Katie. So yeah, like we said, we'll stick around for a few more minutes, see if any questions come through that Q&A section. Also, thank you very much for coming. If you found this helpful and you want to view it again, we will put it up in that webinar recording section under the support folder, like I showed you a little bit earlier. But for the time being, I'm just going to throw myself on mute and wait for any questions, and we can answer those if anything comes in. Thanks. Okay, so we have a question coming. Can you show how to get the recording? I missed the first minutes. Okay, perfect. Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here for you. And I will walk you through that process again. Okay, so I'm going to log in as Johnny Appleseed. Okay, so if I am taken to a Me view right away, in order to get back to the dashboard, we're going to have to go to our little LB icon here in the top left, click on Dashboard. From here, this is going to be our new feed. So in order to get to the normal default feed, we're going to have to go to the link to Legacy down here in the bottom right. Click on where it says not where you should be. And then from here, it's going to take us to our default dashboard page. And then from here, I don't know if you were here for this part, but we can go to our mobile calendar and we can get .ics links that we can import into Outlook, iCal, and Google Calendar, all of our other calendar sources like that. We also have our account settings where we can go in and change our password and change our default page. And then we also have our support section right here. So this is actually answering your question. So if we go to help and then support, that is going to take us to a page that looks a lot like this. And then from here, we have a full section of webinar recordings where we have all of our previous recordings from our last session in early 2018. Those are all listed here. We do have a full mobile app demo showing admin functionality as well. And then all of our webinars for this section will also be added into this webinar recording section as well. Okay, so it doesn't look like any other questions are coming in at this time. So we're going to go ahead and close down this first webinar for you. And thank you again for joining. And let us know if there are any additional topics that you'd like us to cover in the future. Feel free to send an email to training@lightning-bolt.com. And we will definitely take those into consideration when we run our next series. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great day.